Welcome to tonight's webinar. Glad to have everybody on the line. I'm calling in from San Diego, California. My name is Michael Rutherford. We're thrilled to have everybody calling in tonight. I know we have folks calling in from all over the world. We can kind of see it on the registration page as everybody is filing in. So appreciate you being with us tonight. You know, it was about 2 weeks ago. We had a fantastic event in San Diego down in La Jolla that was called Playbook 1.0. And the topics discussed are going to be some of the same topics discussed tonight. Which were mobile engagement, how to engage the world through a mobile device, mobile apps, and the idea that our entire lives have been appified, or that saying that you've all heard, there's an app for that. And it was interesting as we had speakers come across the stage that all of which looked, you know, kind of like kids. They were all in their 20s, but yet they represented 10 and 15 and $20 million companies that were just a year or two old in the mobile app space. We learned about how games influence our life. We learned about gamification, and one of the speakers that's going to talk tonight is an absolute expert on that concept of gamification. What I'm more excited about than the event we just did in San Diego is the event we're going to do in Dallas in April, and all the things that tonight is going to lead up to teach you why that event is an absolute must attend. There's going to be two other speakers tonight. I just get the chance to host and introduce them, one of which has been in transformation in technology for years. He's built companies that have gone public. He's built companies that have gone all over the world. His name is Jim Bunch. But the first speaker I get to introduce is a great friend of mine. I was in his wedding last year. I've gotten to know him very well, worked very closely over the last several years as he's been a huge player in the mobile engagement space, and he's a fierce competitor. It's just a fun dude, and you're going to love it as he kicks off tonight. So the first person I'd love to welcome to the call is Brian Underwood. Brian, are you with us?
I am here. Can you hear me okay, Michael?
Yes, sir.
Well, great. It's great to be online with everyone, and I do know that we have quite a few people calling in from not only all across the country, but literally all across the world. And if you, like me, are on the telephone line, you're probably an entrepreneur. You're probably looking to learn what's hot in the marketplace. And, one of the things that I think we're going to share with you tonight is some strategies in the market that, you're going to find are no longer trends. But I think there's strategies in the markets that all of us, once we kind of dive into this conversation, our awareness is going to be heightened because it's something that every single one of us are participating in on a day in and day out basis. And one of our goals and outcomes through not only this process tonight, but really leading up to Dallas, Texas, and giving everyone an invite to come out to our next Playbook event is to give you a vehicle to where you can take some of these strategies that we're going to be teaching on over the course of the next 7 weeks and give you a vehicle to where you can capitalize financially in the global market on the mobile movement that's taking place. And so, we've been able to assemble an incredible team and a project that I've been, literally entrenched in for the last 15 months, along with some incredible partners surrounding us. And so, with that being said, just to share with everyone where this entire concept began is a little over 3 years ago, close to 4 years ago. As an entrepreneur, I was looking for what was hot in the marketplace. And I believe that every single person on this telephone line, you can relate, because one of the things that we do as entrepreneurs is we want to go where the action is, where the excitement is. And I had a mentor of mine tell me over 20 years ago that the key to creating wealth was very simple. Where a lot of people think it's hard work or education, I found that I knew a lot of hardworking, well-educated, quite frankly, broke people out in the marketplace. And my mentor told me, he said, it's very simple. He said, growth is what creates wealth. Growth multiplies and magnifies your income. And if you can position yourself in front of a growth industry, in a growth environment with a growth company, then that growth can multiply and magnify your income. And it was never more evident to me than when I was standing in Times Square, was in New York City, meeting with some venture capitalists, meeting with some, other entrepreneurs, and really identifying a marketplace that I wanted to segment myself into. And I was sitting there in the advertising capital of the world. And if you could imagine walking through the middle of Times Square, where billions of dollars had been spent on advertising all around you, all of the lights and all of the billboards. And when I looked around, no one's head was looking up at the billboards. However, everyone's eyes were on their mobile phones. And that's when it hit me. It's about going where the eyes are. And so we aggressively created a company and became one of the fastest growing companies in the mobile engagement and mobile media marketplace. And so for those of you that are on the line, we can talk about mobile, all night long because it's something that's fun, that all of us have been a part of creating this movement over the last decade. But what I really want to do is identify everyone what this marketplace is about, because where the wealth is where that growth segments of the market are, and that growth has to do with the shift of trillions of dollars in the marketplace. And so if you take a look really at where we're at today in the market, if we could go to the next slide, is if you can just think back, years ago, the companies that have had the most credibility in the marketplace, the most pull, the wealthiest companies in the market have been the companies that could reach audiences. It's been the companies that, have mostly been in media, whether it's print media, whether it's radio or TV advertisement. And if you really look back at some of the benchmark brand names in the marketplace, it will share with you, or it will leave you clues on why they became the brand names that they became. Was because they were able to get wide audiences because of advertising through print, radio, and TV. And so that's why companies would always seek those relationships out with those multimedia conglomerates. And it was evident to me, when I was in San Antonio, Texas, this was back in the 90s, had an opportunity to meet Phil Knight, the owner of Nike. And for a lot of you, you know him as the Just Do It guy. But before Phil Knight adopted Just Do It, there was an individual that gave him, he told me, his number one piece of advice when he was launching the Nike brand name. And so as I had an opportunity to meet Phil Knight, I said, me and my buddy that was with me, we were going to ask him one question. The question that we asked him is, hey, listen, we're young entrepreneurs. We're looking to, get started in business. What would you tell us? What recommendation would you tell us to do? What was a pivotal piece of the success in your business? And Phil looked at us and he said, number one, make good stuff. You have to make good stuff. And he said, but number two, he said, the biggest difference that I made in my career was I listened to an individual named Dan Wyden from Wyden and Kennedy. And he said, advertising is the key to you making your brand name. And he said that was the turning point of Kennedy, is the advertising company that came up with the Just Do It slogan. And so because he was able to go out and start advertising to mass audiences, Nike blew up and ended up becoming the brand name that we know today. And for a lot of us, you can remember those times where he started endorsing Michael Jordan. Why? Because Michael Jordan had a huge audience that he had influence and persuasion with. But over the course of the last 10 to 15 years, we've seen this shift of trillions, move from the traditional media conglomerates to you. We have become the biggest conglomerates in media, advertising, and truly going out and penetrating mass audiences. Why? Simply because of technology. Technology has given us platforms to connect with people easier and quicker than ever before. And I think a lot of us can understand that if you just go back and reference when we first started, getting on email. The reason why Hotmail was valued at $420 million was because they had eyeballs, they had audiences. As we started transitioning on the way that we were communicating through electronic mail. And these segments of technology have just evolved, but they have all evolved around one key component, and that key component was leveraging you on this telephone line, leveraging your audience. Because every single one of us, we have eyeballs. We have an audience of people that we have persuasion, influence, and relationships with. And these platforms just gave us the ability to connect those audiences together in a social graph. Then you had Facebook come up on the scene, which all of us know the audience that they created. YouTube, Twitter. But the key to really these companies is now we have become the biggest single key in today's media. We have shifted it forever. Why? because no longer is the power in the hands of TV or radio or print. Just like in Russia when the meteor struck down on Earth just a couple weeks ago, how did you learn about it? How did you see it? It probably wasn't because you were watching on TV. You probably got a notice through Facebook or a text from a friend or on YouTube on your mobile phone, and you were able to view that news. And the reason you were able to view it real time was because people were filming that news, that media, right from their mobile phone. So now, as consumers in the marketplace, we have become creators of content, and not only creators of content, but publishers to be able to reach mass audiences. So the reason why these companies have become the most powerful companies and some of the most successful companies over the course of the last 10 years is because of one reason. They have eyeballs. They have audience. And a lot of these companies are valued today not because of the amount of revenue they generate, but they are valued today because of the audiences that they have. So the exciting news is as we learn this and as we move forward as entrepreneurs, it's about how do we harness the power that we have to create a ripple in the market? How do we harness the power of our influence and persuasion, but where not only we could track it, but how we can also monetize and make money from it, because everything today is not about the internet interface, it's about going mobile, because that's where the eyes are. And so that's what we're going to share with you for those that come to Dallas, is an enabling technology that we've created that puts the power back in the hands of the people. That's you. And our entire model is based on eyeball acquisition. Eyeball acquisition is the most powerful business model in today's marketplace. Why? Because where the eyeballs are, the value is. And so we've done case study after case study. You know, we have a strategic advisor who owns the company Mogul. It's a mobile app, and he pays anywhere from $9 to $47 per eyeball that's acquired, meaning every time someone downloads his app, he's paying a company or an advertising firm anywhere from $9 to $47 to get him those eyeballs, because usually when you have an app on your phone, your eyes are going to be on your phone using that app. So that is power in the marketplace. It's value in the marketplace. So we're going to help everyone understand the power of eyeball acquisition, and eyeball acquisition is all about mobile. And here's the exciting news if you're on the call tonight is you don't have to take it from me. You don't have to take it from Jim, who you're going to hear from, or Michael. You can just look at the current credibility in the marketplace. You can look at all of the most recent periodicals on the newsstands. Just pick one. It doesn't matter, from Entrepreneur Magazine talking about the young millionaires playing in the mobile space, or read Time Magazine in the Wall Street Journal when interviewing Mark Zuckerberg at the beginning of the year, and he said the number one mistake he made was not making Facebook a mobile company when he launched it. He said today, he said Facebook will be known 100% as a mobile company. Why? Because that's where the eyes are. That's where people are spending all of their time, is on that mobile engagement. And so what I've always said is that success leaves clues unless you're clueless. And so to me, it's all about common sense. But I think a lot of you would agree with me today that common sense just isn't that common. So as all of us are participating in this mobile movement, using our phones for everything, and not leaving home without our mobile phones, the question that we really have to ask ourselves is how we can monetize. We're participating already, because just look at some of the companies and the most recent phenomenons in business over the last 5 or 6 years. They have been able to engage you from a mobile app, and they've been able to drive their audience and their eyeballs because they've driven their companies based on you. Take a look at Instagram, sold for $1 billion cash. How did Instagram go virally? They were able to tap into your contacts. They were able to tap into your Rolodex. And through you inviting people to use that app and share that app, they created $1 billion valuation. Words with Friends, Boxer, that was at one time downloading over 200,000 downloads every single day. They're valued at close to $1 billion, and guess what? They don't have any revenue coming into the company, but they have eyeballs. The question that I have to ask you is, who are these companies truly being driven by, and how much money have they paid you to go drive their value as they've all been able to cash out? It's just something to think about. The reality of it is that this isn't a trend that we're talking about. Trends come and go. This truly is a shift, and it's the biggest shift that we're going to see in our lifetime. Smartphones are used for everything. The apps are what makes the phone smart. That is the engagement piece and the technology behind it. But smartphones are indispensable. Think about what you're doing right now. Probably 90% of the people that are on this webinar, you're on your mobile phone listening to it, and you're probably sending out text messages and probably playing a video game as we're talking, because it's transformed consumer behavior. It's allowing us to make purchases easier and quicker than ever before. It's very simple. We do everything with our smartphones, from communication to entertainment to productivity. And that's the exciting things, is it helps us navigate the rest of the world. So just think about that as we start moving through, the rest of this conversation tonight, is start understanding the playing field that you're playing on. And if we're all entrepreneurs and we're in business, what we want to do is we want to expand the marketplace that we can play in. We want to play on the biggest playing field that we possibly can. And the thing that is evident is how the smartphones are penetrating all across the world. I mean, quite frankly, if you just take a look at the global view of where smartphones and where mobile phones are in terms of adoptance, in a lot of countries there's more mobile phones than there are people. So we know for 100% that if we can create a transition in the space utilizing strategies that you're going to hear about tonight, but utilizing mobile engagement, number one, to engage and connect an audience quicker and easier than ever before. And if we can truly transcend these industries by using strategies that you're going to hear about, then we can make the competition irrelevant when it comes to the value that people create in the marketplace, because we're going to reward people that are creating that. And these are some of the things that you're going to learn in Dallas, and you're going to have an opportunity to help us, launch what we believe is one of the most powerful enabling technologies that will transcend and go into uncharted waters. So, the really fact is this, is that, there's billionaires that are perceived to be billionaires overnight. Why? It's because they're in the right place at the right time. And I can tell you, over the next 12 to 24 months, there is going to be a global phenomenon. There's going to be more and more millionaires and billionaires that pop up on Forbes magazine, Fortune magazine, because they understand not only where the markets are, but where the markets are going, and they have the ability and the foresight to anticipate and take action. And the reality of it is, most people don't know right now the value that they have in the marketplace. And so what we want to do is get way ahead of that curve and give people a vehicle to participate. Because I think all of us know in today's marketplace, mobile is definitely here. And we all understand that no matter what it is that we're doing on a day in and day out basis, they're making an app for it. And in business today, it's about appifying everything. And it's a marketplace that has become so fragmented. There's more apps out there than we could ever download. There's more app publishers out there that will never get their app out in the marketplace. Why? Because the search and discovery is broken, meaning the way that we find out about an app is not that we Google it or we search for it. We usually get told about that app or that product through a friend. And what we want to do is share with you some innovative and creative ways to drive consumer behavior and get rewarded for doing naturally what you've been doing, over the course of the last 10 to 20 years. And so with that being said, I want to encourage each and every one of you that are on the phone to be in Dallas. We're very excited. I'm actually here right now. We're excited about not only sharing with everyone that's on the telephone line, some more information about these strategies and share with you some more information about where the market's going, but we also are excited about, really enlisting you as partners and helping us plug into a system to create a movement that we believe can span the globe. And so with that, an integral part of the team that's come on board and, has really been an integral part of helping us bring this enabling technology to life that you're going to learn about is someone that has been going along a parallel path and understanding where the markets are going. And, he loves technology. He understands how to use technology that is transforming human behavior. And so I'm going to ask him if he would come on the line to share with everyone a little bit about his passion and understanding of these strategies that we're talking about tonight. And it's been a pleasure working with him. I can tell you that, we've been able to connect and work and grow an incredible relationship. And he's someone that I've known about him and his success for literally years and years. And so with that being said, without any further ado, I'd love to turn the call over to Mr. Jim Bunch.
Thank you, Brian. And every time I hear you go through that, I get more and more excited about where we're headed and where everybody who's on this webinar is going to have a chance to play with us. So thank you so much, and wonderful job, my friend. It's interesting. I have a question for you guys before we dive into the next chunk of this, and my question is really simple. If someone were to ask you, what is the most valuable real estate on the planet, what might you say? I can tell you when somebody used to ask me that question, because I was involved in technology for 15 years, we've dabbled in real estate, and I know that, you always want to own real estate that's either on the top of a mountain, on the edge of a golf course, or oceanfront property. And so I used to answer that the most valuable real estate on the planet was oceanfront property. But as Brian said, when he had that shift as he was walking through Times Square and noticed that nobody was looking up, everybody was looking at the palm of their hand, I had this awareness that the most valuable real estate is actually on the home screen of your phone. So if you look at this home screen, there's, 16 icons and then another 4 at the bottom. So if you can put an app on the home screen of someone's smartphone, they're most likely going to look at that 5 to 10 to 50 times a day. I mean, take a look at your home screen right now and ask yourself, what is on my home screen? Because that's making an impression on your mind.